Welcome to Parenting Pioneers, the podcast where we journey through the vibrant communities of urban life, discovering the opportunities and challenges that await today's working parents. In a world that's changing faster than ever, how do we raise resilient, curious, and empowered kids? So whether you're navigating the digital playground, seeking local adventures, or striving for that ever-elusive work-life harmony, we're here to guide, inspire, and connect. I'm your host, David Watkins, and together we'll explore stories, strategies, and talk with experts that empower us to thrive in the parenting landscape. So, parents, pioneers, let's find our way. We want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Plan My Kids. As busy parents, we all know the stress of trying to plan and organize activities for our kids. That's where Plan My Kids comes in. They make planning and attending kids' activities easy, offering personalized programs tailored to your family's interests and needs. So if you're feeling overwhelmed with planning kids' activities, let Plan My Kids take the wheel. Visit their website at planmykids.com and start your plan today. Remember, with Plan My Kids, you got this. And most importantly, your kids know this. Thanks again to Plan My Kids for their support of the podcast. In this episode of Parenting Pioneers, I'm joined by Caleb Smith, owner of North Carolina Esports Academy. Our discussion revolves around Caleb's transition from a professional athlete to founding an esports academy that focuses on the educational aspects of gaming and esports for youth. Key topics include the evolution of NC Esports, its approach to integrating education with gaming, and the impact of awards and recognition on the academy. Caleb emphasizes the importance of soft skills, teamwork, and problem solving in esports, as well as how these skills are vital for youth development. We also delve into common misconceptions about gaming, while highlighting the social and educational benefits of esports. Let's find our way with Caleb. Caleb, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So I understand that you used to be a professional athlete. How in the world did you go from that to founding North Carolina Esports Academy?
Well, yeah, I don't have the most typical stories. Really growing up, I played a lot of sports, played a lot of video games as well. And then, people always asking, what are you going to do as a career? So I was like, I don't know, create some video game or something. And then I didn't quite do that. But, while I was over there, I heard I was looking for a career change. And then I, came across esports. Like, oh, this is pretty cool. This looks like a really interesting industry to be able to get into. So, it took a few months, but I was able to find an opportunity. And so I went with that. I just, thought it was cool, like the industry, so started a business. But I often tell people, don't just start in a business because you like the industry, you think it's cool. Find, an industry where there's a problem, you can become a solution to it. Because, a lot of people do that with businesses, just start them, and they don't work out. Just like, oh, I thought I was interested, I'm really good at it, whatever. But you have to really be a problem solver if you're going to start a business.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So what inspired you to take this experience you had in sports and sort of turn that into using it towards a world of competitive video gaming?
Yeah, so within sports, esports is, newer than traditional sports. And there wasn't, they've had, professional competitions and everything, but there was really no set training model and youth model. No, it's really come up and built because, think about we started back in 2020. The process started back in 2019. So more of it's come to be. It's still not, to the point where it needs to be yet, but there's been a large shift in the education aspects as well. Because when we first opened, for the first few months, everyone was like, I want to be a pro gamer. I want to be a pro gamer. I haven't in like a year and a half heard any kids say they want to be a pro gamer. They all want to now be streamers, influencers, YouTubers, because they see people like Mr. Beast and Ninja, all the money that they make from content creation. And so we realized that education was the way to go because, well, one, they love Minecraft, they love playing games, and we could educate them through games. They like being creative. And then as well, no matter what they decide to get into, like we still do some esports teams. And so when that blows up again, we will be prepared for that. But on the education side, because we educate, whether they want us to educate them on getting better for a game, whether they want us to educate them on, how to become a streamer, or if they want to learn about cybersecurity, whatever, we're able to teach them. And, we moved away from the actual real high level competitive gamers, one, because, there wasn't enough to actually make a business. We did have some really good ones, but it was very challenging to convince the parents, and those like a higher cost. It wasn't anything out of the normal what other, sports or music might cost, but because it was new and different, parents couldn't just a lot of parents couldn't justify having to pay what that cost was that we had for it. And then, because we had to pay a coach more for it. But then now that we cater to more casual gamers that just want to play and have fun and get, better, then, we don't have to pay a coach as much because we only need someone who's experienced. There's a wider range of, gamers that want to just come and have fun, not that just want to compete and let's say I want to be pro.
Right. So it sounds like what you've done is you've really kind of met the kids where they're at. They were already kind of interested in gaming or being streamers. And now you've incorporated some educational pieces in that as well, right?
Correct.
Great. So I understand that you've changed your name a few times. I've been following you for a little while, and so you've gone through some name changes. So tell me about the journey of that. Why the name changes?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll speak on the last ones. We had Triangle Esports Academy, and then a lot of sports and other businesses have like Triangle like a name base, and then change it to North Carolina was because when you talked about the Triangle, even still, people really think about Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area. They don't think that's just entails three counties, technically four if you want to count Chatham, but that people mostly think of Pittsburgh and Siler City. And so within that, you have Nash County, we have Franklin County, Granville County, I believe it's Harnett. I believe it's Harnett part of the Triangle, one of those. And then obviously I mentioned there's Lee County, it's Chatham County. So most people just think of Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. And so even people that, may be like in a Chatham County or in a Franklin County would be like, oh, even though it's Triangle, they cater to the Raleigh, Durham area. They don't come out to where we are. And so we want to make sure that no organization didn't reach out to us. And then also we're, in conversations and looking to expand outside of, the Triangle as well. It's just the 14 counties that make up the Triangle. We want to expand outside of that. And so having, more of a generic name that encompasses the entire state, with our physical location being here in Cary, it's right in the center of North Carolina. Our goal is to really expand it all over the state, to wherever. And then eventually there's probably be another name change where next time around it will most likely be something more generic, where it may not even have esports in it anymore, but it'll be something maybe related to education, ed tech, or it could be a name that, could be anything. Who knows what we're going to, be getting into in the future.
Yeah.
And so that's what the main reason was behind this last name change, was to really encompass. And a lot of people, ask, are they all over? And we didn't want them to think that, we wouldn't service to them. And we're really trying to move away from it's like we are a business that happens to have a physical brick and mortar, but says we are not confined to this brick and mortar.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it's sort of a byproduct of just accessibility and growth, right, for what you're experiencing. I grew up in Charlotte, and I remember another little company that went through a lot of name changes. They were called NCNB, which was a small bank that became Nations Bank and then became Bank of America. So maybe you guys will maybe you guys will be able to grow like that, huh?
And that's the goal.
Yeah. So hey, congratulations. I understand you guys have also received lots of awards lately. You personally made the Forbes 30 under 30 in 2023. Congratulations on that. And the business itself has received several accolades as well, including the Cary Chamber Impact Business Award. How have these accolades and awards sort of affected your business?
Yeah, they've done a lot to really help. The Forbes under 30, that was a great one because, some organizations they were trying to work with, trying to get in touch with, it was a little bit more challenging. That helped give the credibility. Then they, were really interested in working with us after that happened. The ones with the Cary Chamber, those do well and help and make an impact. And things you never truly know what type of impact they had, truly, because we've had people come in, it's like just parents might bring their kids here, stuff they've heard about the awards, they've seen that, and they're interested in investing, and other organizations may be interested in partnering. So somebody sees it somewhere, and then even still, when it helps, like after award ceremonies, our parents like, oh, you are hiring. I know people that want jobs, and so it really helps just grow their awareness. And staff too, they want to see that because in the startup world, this obviously when they come into a startup, they want the startup to do well. They want to be able to put on their resume, also get equity within that startup. They want to be able to, okay, is this startup going to do well, and will financially have a good exit, and also is this startup going to truly help me? Because if the startup fails, trying to get another job, is a little bit more challenging. But if the startup succeeds, like, oh yeah, I was a part of this startup in the journey, in the process, and help them succeed, and then it really improves their credibility. So that's the main. I mean, and we don't make a goal or focus to win any awards. Like we apply for awards. There's some we win, some we don't. But the main thing about this, like, we grow the company, we stay, get locked into our focus, and our focus is on education, ed tech within the K-12. Really focusing on youth, and then now is a large focus as well to get to the underserved youth, because being in this area is often overlooked, but I mean the majority of the state are underserved. They don't have the internet, they don't have devices to actually be able to learn these skills. They don't have it within their school. Being in Wake County, we hear about all the great things they have all the time within the public schools, but and even the private schools here, they don't have that, and a lot of the areas outside of here. So
Yeah.
and that's we always want to stay true to our focus, and then the more awards that we can win, great, but it's never going to be a goal of, oh, we have to win this award. We're not going to do things to position ourselves to win that award.
Makes sense. Makes sense. All right. So I'm going to ask the question that I think most parents have, and it's around this common myth that video games create isolation and they're antisocial. So how does the Academy challenge and change that perception?
Great question. So, well, in terms of the antisocial, no parent ever says that when they, the kids are here, because simply from the fact they're in person, they're talking with each other, they're working together on different projects, they're playing games together. So in terms of being antisocial, there's, there's really no argument for that. They don't think so. And I mean, that's one thing they like about it. I want them to be in person, to come together and to do it. And I know during COVID time, it really did help, because they said, video games was one of the few ways that they could actually communicate with their friends. And they didn't realize that. So I had to be like, they never thought of it. Like, wow, they're actually being able to communicate with their friends now. And this is the only way possible, because they can't actually go out in person and be together. And then can you remind me what the other part was? I know you said the antisocial. What was the other one?
Just isolation. I think
Isolation,
kind of touched on that a little bit with the COVID. Like, it actually created a way for kids to actually connect, even though they were isolated, right?
Correct. And then now when you talk about esports, anything education related, we put the kids together in groups. So, like we have the, esports itself, those are team based, and we put them in groups. And even still, like individual games like Mario Kart or Super Smash Bros., we, have rec leagues around that. And we bring them all together and are playing. And so that takes away the, isolation part of it. And the whole myth came in from, because they talk about, oh, the person in the mom's basement, eating junk food and all. And that, I mean, it's just like those very few that, scenarios that you have. And, like, I mean, it's like think of anything with the media. You hear something on the media, and then you like hear about the true story. So there's always, two sides to every story. Because, like, yes, are there people out there that just play games, don't do anything productive? Absolutely. But video games are actually a great tool, because things I like playing video games. My dad, he likes playing video games. We started this business. All these people at these tech companies, you talk about, like, you look at your Lenovo and SAS, Cisco, they're gamers, they like playing. And so they said, oh yeah, I wanted to get into this because I like video games. I want to learn more about them, how they were made, more. Got interest. I built my own PC. So it can be very productive. But a lot of it, I think, stems from the parents as well, because if they're just letting their child unlimited screen time, play it all the time, but there needs to be some blocks, like, no electronics on school nights, limit the amount of time they can play. You have to do your homework and your chores and all that. There has to be some boundaries, really set in within that. And then, one thing I've noticed is that too, unless if someone's actually truly pursuing something within the game, is that they do that. You talk about, people binge watching Netflix, binge playing video games or whatever they do. It's because there's no other activity that they're doing, something they're striving towards and being really proud of. It's like go to work for 30, 40 hours a week and then just go and play, video games the rest of the time. But then, I believe it's really raising children because, we do our part by, taking out the toxic behavior, by teaching the health, the wellness, taking the breaks and making it social. But the parents have to do their part by not letting the kids use it all the time. They have to, also teach about, you need to volunteer, you need to have set goals and, strive towards hitting those goals and do something else. Now, if the kids do want to, pursue, gaming as a career, that's like a completely different story. But there's, so many that aren't pursuing a career. They're just simply doing it because they have nothing else better to do. So I think it's like, it goes two ways. Like we do our job, but the parents have to do their job as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, technologies come along and they get incorporated into our life, and obviously you can use or abuse them. I think they're here, so you might as well embrace them. As you were talking about, the sort of the businesses and the social aspect of it for some of these technology companies. I remember working for a startup, and at 5 o'clock, and this was a small office, but basically the office network then became the gaming network. So if you actually wanted to do some work, you needed to go home because the network is going to be saturated with game network networking.
Yeah.
Great. So, as, new technologies, come about, the rapid pace of technology, how does the Academy ensure that it's, whether it's its games or its curriculum or its equipment remain up to date in this ever-changing, fast-paced world of technology?
Great question. So, we work with youth. Our thing is all about introducing them to it. We can, if an organization reaches out specifically and has a group, currently we don't offer any classes to where individuals sign up. It's really about getting youth interested in it, getting them together, like I mentioned, keeping kids off the streets is, something that's very important to us, and that not really an issue that we talk about, like I said, in this area, but when we expand to all over, North Carolina, that's a large issue. So that's the main concern. Then we're getting them interested in tech careers. When you talk about elementary and middle schoolers, in middle school, that's when a lot of them start to get more interested in coding or use like Unity, Unreal Engine, which we can do that as well. But our, main goal is to really get them interested, get their passion, want to learn and pursue, and then steer them in the right direction, to where they actually take it, if they can find a class, and at school or like on Udemy or find a community college where they're able to take it in the future. I feel like we'll, offer some courses to it. We do offer the course if there's a group, that wants it specifically. Currently we don't, and it's really about exposure is the main thing, knowing about careers. Like, I heard about, I was at a career fair the other day. It was in Chapel Hill, and just hearing about, like there was an electrician there was talking about the career, and then like a 4-year apprenticeship, they say at the end of it you're making $30 an hour, and then there's a wastewater apprenticeship for a year, and it's like $23.60 an hour, and then once you learn you could be making more money. It's just like hearing about these careers. It's like, wow, we never had these at schools. They would only bring in people that who did a job that was around education or healthcare or maybe like engineering. They never brought people in that just talked about these are still jobs. These are what we need people for. They pay well. You don't have to. We pay for your schooling when you go, or you don't have to go as intensely, to school. You just need a certification. It's like you always have a job. If you're a federal employee, you get all these benefits. Those are really overlooked or not talked about. And so that's the same thing within technology, because I was wondering, I was like, well, cybersecurity, I said they're hiring in droves. They need more people. Why aren't more, people looking to get into pursuing it? They said they don't know about the career path. It doesn't sound cool. They don't know what it is. And that's something too. I never knew what cybersecurity was, but I would have absolutely loved to do that. But we weren't exposed to, enough careers. And when they talked about majors, they don't show a list of all the majors that there are out there. They just talk because, you're in school. And so you hear from the teachers, and the teachers, talk about what they mean. It's usually something more, education based. And so I really see like a lot of flaws within the school system, from that. And so that's our goal is to be able to expose youth. And when we do lessons, like here's a cybersecurity lesson, they're playing games that teach cybersecurity, and we explain what cybersecurity is and hacking and why that's such a big deal. But internet safety is also something that's not really important that we tie into that. Talk about, they kidnappers out there that's trafficking, that's something that's a serious issue. And then immediately get into like your personal information being stolen. And there's so much, it keeps changing, adding more and more on just being in the space. And the more I hear about, like, oh, don't use public charging, don't use public Wi-Fi, so much that they talk about. It's like there's always some new rule. It's like they say don't use TikTok, oh, this app has this new updated terms of service. Here's what it says, because obviously there's someone who has the attorney that reads through all 80 to 1,000 pages of what's in there, but most people don't actually. So that's really what's important to us. So we encompass all of it. So every aspect of for esports and gaming to take place, starting from building a PC to setting up the network, internet, and server, all the way to the actual day of production and what you see as a spectator.
Wow. So really, I mean, you guys are like a surrogate parent for all this technology, because it is a parent, it's hard to keep up with this stuff, but you guys are in the thick of it. So you're getting the most up-to-date information and are able to share that with the kids and keep them informed where parents might not even know. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've had lots of kids come through there. Can you share maybe one memorable story or experience that you had that sort of highlights sort of an impact that your program had on a student?
On a student. So, I mean, there's quite a few. I have two main ones. So, one is it's not really a specific student, but we have a decent amount of students that come through that maybe on the spectrum. Usually they're higher functioning, but parents will talk about like they don't want to go to other camps, they don't enjoy them, and they say they love this one, they enjoy being there because they like video games. So that's one thing, knowing that we provide something that youth that have autism really enjoy. And then the others are whenever we do work within youth that maybe underserved. I know there's a nonprofit called Walker Boomy that we work with, and these students, they were in like areas of downtown Durham, Southeast Raleigh, and they wanted to be online, which did not go extremely well. But she said the kids really enjoyed it, and like it's a challenge to actually do it online. She said, yes, from our standpoint, like from us, our staff like this went absolutely awful. But then on this side, they never had an experience like this. They enjoyed it. They just really opened them up to something they never experienced. And so that was another one. And that's the only reason why, because normally I was like, I'm not doing this again. But then because of that, that's why we, continue to do it, because, obviously we want to do great quality work, and knowing that that was not good quality work, but then knowing that it actually did make a large impact, on the youth. So I was like, okay, yeah, we need to continue on with this work that we're doing. And so that's, just really the impact that we get to make, because you never know, what's going on with somebody. I mean, it could be something at home, or, somebody, people, whatever's happening, this could be like an escape. This could be something that they enjoy and look forward to. And you never know, because I know personally, like there was a coach that he actually had a lot of impact to me, really wanted to start getting better, training, working hard. And I don't think he actually knows, to this day. I know his first name was Brian. I'm trying to remember his last name. He was a coach at Duke, but I don't even think he knows. I think it was around like 14 years old or something, but he has no idea, that he had that much influence and impact. So that's the thing too. I may never know that, how much impact I have on somebody, but knowing that we're making impact, I think that's the real important thing.
That makes sense. Yeah. Do you find that that the kids in the gaming community are fairly accepting of kids who are different than them?
They are. They, it doesn't really matter to them. It's just like all when, they're there playing a game. That's what they really care about, playing the game and having fun. Most of the time, they don't even really notice. And then obviously with a lot of them, it's very challenging to tell us that the parents actually say something to us directly, because with most, because I mentioned most of them are high functioning, and then if they aren't, the parents usually don't bring them, or they take them. They usually could have them in some type of facility that works with youth that have autism, and then they clear them. So, oh yeah, they should be able to go out, do these activities, etc. Like, I know there was one we actually did a like sort of like a job shadowing training for him, and it's a company. I'm talking about what exactly was it they did, but they said that they worked with adults that would any type of disabilities, and like just test to see to help them get jobs like within neurodiversity, and then you know we had one, and they said yeah he wasn't ready for employment, but they bring them in, we give them certain tasks and see how well do they do with this, and they listen and all those type of things. So typically they don't get cleared to come to a place like ours. So we usually don't. And then I mean the kids, I mean all they care about is playing games and having fun. So yeah, we haven't run into any issues with that.
Great. So for parents that are thinking about activities for their kids to do, maybe they're on the fence about whether or not they, want their kid to participate in esports. What would you say to parents that are the benefits for them of participating in esports and the Academy's approach to those benefits?
Yeah, so the main one I would say is really, the soft skills, which are really important. Communication and teamwork, and being diligent. Making the commitment. All those go into it, and I mean they have like a critical thinking and problem solving as well. Those are what's most important, because when hiring somebody, that's the first thing I look for, is somebody with all the skills, technical skills, and with not any of that. They can't work with a team, don't communicate well. I mean, you can't, hire that type of person, but you can hire someone, trainer, as long as they're willing to show up, listen, learn, and be diligent. So that's, one of the main benefits. And then also you talk about that's the character life skills building side. But then we talk about the health and wellness and the internet safety. I mean, there's very few places you can go to. You can't go, to no sport or music or any, like a lot of these other activities. You're not gonna learn about internet safety there. It's not gonna be in a fun and exciting way. They're gonna say things that's gonna go over the kid's head. But when you talk about it, hacking something that they actually like to ask, how do you not get hacked, and what goes on? We're able to explain that, and it's cool because it's around computers and video games, and then and the health and wellness part, which this one is a challenge. We can only do so much. I hope that they take it home with them, but during camps, after we make them go outside, we teach them proper warm up and cool down exercises. We teach them about the proper breaks, hydrating, eating healthy, sleeping, and just limiting screen time. So it's really everything that we encompass. And then, like I mentioned, the tech skills as well. But all of those, I think, are very important, for youth to learn. And so that's what our main goal and focus is that they should be coming and learning this. And the way it's set up, like, until you want to be like a real competitive gamer, it's not something like, I don't recommend you shouldn't spend all day every day here. It's not the best for you. I know one kid, he came to camp, he did like half here and the half at XO soccer, where I'm like, oh, that's great. You should be out still playing a sport, getting a physical activity. You shouldn't be playing video games, looking at a screen, all of summer, even though we do make them go outside, not as much physical activity as XO soccer world would be. But I feel like there needs to be a good balance, because when I was young, I did a lot. I played different sports, did some music. I feel like you just still learn different languages, and there should be wide range. And then around the age of like 12 to 14 is when we start to see you really dial in on one thing specifically. So that thing can be video games, or it could be maybe debate club, chess team, or sport, or anything they actually appreciate. But when they're younger, it's very important to get a wide range of exposure, and to know about everything that's out there, because you're gonna your brain's gonna develop, and you're gonna learn certain things in music. You can be really good at it and want to pursue that. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I'm in no way gonna be able to help you to do that. And even still, it's like we need people in wide range. Just like there's all types of jobs and everything. Like I really like the people that do oil changes, because if they weren't around, I would not be doing very well. I'd be having to make a lot of money and buy a car every 20,000 miles, because mine would go out.
As you're describing all the benefits or all the things to sort of manage a balance, like you could have been talking about any sport. You're talking about, making sure you're getting enough sleep, making sure you're drinking water, getting rest. Yeah, I mean, doing a variety of things, not just one thing. Like that could be like for any sport. It just so happens that it's esports, right? So it's neat. So before we close, I have a question for you, a little bit of a pop question for you. So if you could grant a superpower to parents, what superpower?
Give them an extra 2 hours of the day that must be spent with their kids, or maybe they'll be like an extra hour. Because I really see, especially with work and busy schedules, like some parents, they drop their kids off early, pick them up later from school, and they may still have work to do. Some may work weekends. Sometimes weekends the only time they get to spend with them. I think it's really important that parents are spending a lot of time with their kids, and that they know and have an idea of what's going on. They should know what's going on in schools, what's going on with the different camps and activity places that they're going to, and really connecting and bonding over that. Because with misbehavior with youth, they're talking about how like they're seeing the highest rates with parents that are more distant or single parent homes and everything. And so I think it's really important that parents, like strong family units, that parents are spending time with their kids and being involved within what they're doing.
Yeah, so maybe it's the power of like time control or manipulation, so they can stop all these other things that are pulling at them, so they can focus on their kids for an hour or two.
Correct.
Yeah, awesome, great. So what's next for North Carolina Esports Academy? Any upcoming projects or initiatives you're excited about?
Yeah, so the main thing now is just scaling. So we've have the model figured out. We've been bringing people on. I mean, you always got to make processes, systems, and there's going to be challenges. We don't have any challenges outside of the normal growth challenges, which is a good thing. But it's really about adding more venues, and then a lot of them are saying that they want to start, in 2024. So adding on the venues for, the ones that are underserved, we're looking to raise the funds. Like we've been doing fundraising initiatives for our 501c3 right now, and looking more corporations. We would talk to, wanting to, donate to help provide for more underserved youth. To really get those locked in, to figure out the systems and process for how that's going to operate, about being real efficient within the business, and continue to go through that route. So really just scaling, encompassing as much as North Carolina as possible, because there's so many groups, to work with. You could work within schools, you could work within, Boys and Girls Club, that's a big one. And then there's YMCAs, and then, talk about the local parks and recs. And then there's so many, like here, there's so many. I was on a call this morning, and there were so many nonprofits, and like, 90% of them, if you aren't in the Triangle area, you don't know about them. At least 90% may have been all but one of them, because one of them was like more North Carolina based. But so many nonprofits, here that are doing great things, impacting, a good amount impacting youth as well. And so our goal is to, really be able to expand out. Then once we get into that area, and then find those different, nonprofits, and to really be able to work with them and continue to grow and scale, bring experiences to youth that, normally wouldn't get that, because you never know, the next, big time companies, the Raleigh-Durham area's had a lot of them, another future $100 million exit or $1 billion, unicorn, and could be, one of those youth, that wouldn't have gotten exposure, if we didn't go out and do that.
Sounds great. That's awesome. So not only you guys are giving back to the community as well. That's great to hear. So lastly, for the parents that are out there listening to the podcast, what's one message of advice that you'd like to leave with them regarding esports and their children's development?
So video games, it's like anything else. Food. We need food to survive. Now you can eat healthy food, unhealthy food. Anything. Exercise is healthy, but if you exercise too much, then it's not healthy. Video games are the same thing. Video, and then there's something that should be a reward as well. So they should still, like I mentioned, do homework and chores. They should have to, do what they're supposed to, because it is a privilege to be able to get to play them. And they should have some screen time, limits as well with them playing. It's not healthy to look at screens all day. They should have to be going outside. And so that's really my message, is that, be very involved, allow them to do it, because it's good for them. It's healthy, for them. If they could do it, in person, what we have, that kind of setup, and then that's, even better. But, don't discourage it, really encourage it, but, make sure it's done in a healthy way, and then look for opportunities for something that they really enjoy.
Great. That's awesome, Caleb. It's been so fun listening to your story today. And, I've learned a lot, just about, wow, you think about video games and esports and the way you talk about it as any other activity, and the things that you need to do to stay healthy while you're doing it, and that you guys can provide that sort of almost as a surrogate parent to help kids understand that, I think is great. And I really appreciate the time today. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
And that wraps up another enriching episode of Parenting Pioneers. Today, we delved into the fascinating world of esports and education with Caleb Smith, the visionary behind North Carolina Esports Academy. We explored how gaming can be more than just play, serving as a powerful tool for developing essential life skills in our children. A huge thank you to Caleb for joining us and sharing his insights and experiences, as well as his journey from a professional athlete to an esports educator. His dedication to youth development through gaming is certainly commendable. If you found today's episode enlightening and want to learn more about esports, visit the North Carolina Esports Academy website. And don't forget to share this podcast with other parents in your community. Let's spread the word on how gaming can positively impact our children's growth and learning. Thank you for sharing a moment with us. We look forward to the next one. Until then, go and be the best parent you can be. We're rooting for you.